Madame Blavatsky's ideas cast a long shadow, providing fertile ground for the myth-makers of New Age spirituality. But ironically, it would be the propagandists of the Third Reich who would first seize upon her theories. In the late 19th century, a new fad swept America. Spiritualism took the country by storm. Here in the New York apartment of an eccentric Russian aristocrat, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky arrived in New York in 1873, penniless after years of traveling the world. But she was soon to become one of the greatest occult gurus of the modern era.
She was very ugly, in conventional terms, and her dress sense was not very good. Somebody once described her as a badly wrapped parcel, or as looking like a badly wrapped parcel. She smoked like a trooper. She swore like a trooper in broken English. She had gross eating habits. She is thought very rarely to have washed. And so she wasn't really a very good proposition in terms of any gainful employment. The only talent she claimed to have was an affinity with spirits.
With her air of cultivated mystery, her almost incomprehensible Russian accent, and her outlandish behavior, Madame Blavatsky soon became one of the stars of the New York seance scene, revealing to her guests through a series of bizarre spiritual contacts that she was in communication with mysterious forces. Although exposed as a trickster on numerous occasions, somehow Madame Blavatsky's appeal just kept on increasing. Before long, Madame Blavatsky attracted the attention of Colonel Henry Olcott, a former member of the committee that had investigated President Lincoln's assassination. The two soon moved in together.
They called each other Jack and Maloney, which doesn't suggest a sexual relationship, but they did live together. They lived together perhaps as pals, chums, friends.
Mysterious letters soon began appearing all over the apartment. Written in her own handwriting, Blavatsky claimed these materialized letters had been dictated to her by cosmic masters who were eager to inform Olcott of their shared mission. The messages told him he'd been admitted into the secret order of these cosmic masters, whose ranks included such great spiritual teachers as Christ, Buddha, Confucius, Solomon, and Plato.
Very few people are admitted to this wisdom, and the knowledge of Atlantis is part of that wisdom. Because, of course, the continent of Atlantis was the original settlement of these arriving cosmic masters coming from a different part of the universe to set up, as it were, human life, or what was to become human life.
After Atlantis' destruction, the cosmic masters had retreated to hidden valleys in the Himalayan mountains, venturing out only rarely to monitor the progress of the human race. Blavatsky claimed she had first encountered these cosmic masters when she herself had been traveling in Tibet many years before. Now, after an apprenticeship of 20 years, the cosmic masters wanted her to bring about a new age of spiritual enlightenment, with Olcott's help. In 1875, the two companions set up an organization dedicated to universal brotherhood, the investigation of man's latent psychic powers, and spreading the wisdom of the East to the West. They called it the Theosophical Society. Incredibly, within a decade, they had branches all over the world, including India, where Mahatma Gandhi would become a member.
You could say that without it, the New Age wouldn't exist. And so in that sense, it's had many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of heirs who are members of other religious movements which owe a great deal to Theosophy. There
were, however, contradictions. From the very start, it was clear to Colonel Alcott that the woman entrusted with leading this new age of Atlantean spirituality was anything but a model of Eastern serenity and contemplation.
He was a natural administrator in a way, with a great deal of experience. She was an oddball. She was an eccentric, she was headstrong, she was reckless, she was mad, she loved stirring up trouble, she loved dramas, she loved scenes, she loved screaming, swearing, she loved upsetting people, she wanted excitement.
In 1888, Blavatsky wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine, in which she attempted to establish the principles of theosophy, or God wisdom, that the cosmic masters had imparted to her. Blavatsky cited most of Donnelly's theories about Atlantis with approval, but she had one major disagreement. In her opinion, Donnelly's belief in Darwin was a grave error, and in one corner of her room sat a stuffed baboon as a constant reminder of how wrong she thought the theory of evolution was. Instead, Blavatsky proposed that the cosmic masters of Atlantis had been the real progenitors of the human race.
Occultism rejects the idea that nature developed man from the ape, tracing the origin of the species to the third race man of the early Atlantean period.
Blavatsky argued that while some peoples, notably the Aryan Hindus, had retained the Atlantean purity of their ancient ancestors, others had not.
The Aryan Hindu belongs to the oldest race now on Earth, the Semite Hebrew to the latest. There was a day when the Israelites had beliefs as pure as the Aryans, but now Judaism has become a religion of hate and malice.
Blavatsky's linking of Atlantis to ideas of racial superiority would later be seized upon by the most sinister forces of the 20th century. Madame Blavatsky died in 1891, and true to form, the grandmother of the New Age refused to go quietly.
Her last years, alas, were fraught with endless dramas, because although she had officially retired from the Theosophical Society, she couldn't stop meddling. And being a hellraiser, she took every possible opportunity to stir the pot. So she died rather sadly, really, because she was in the middle of a maelstrom of anger and scandal when she died. But somehow that's entirely appropriate. One feels she rather enjoyed it.
Madame Blavatsky's ideas cast a long shadow over the story of Atlantis, providing fertile ground for the myth-makers of New Age spirituality.